Hi, this is Regeline Sabat, also known as Gigi. You're listening to Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Rebecca Zung. Rebecca is a top 1% attorney, narcissist negotiation expert, best-selling author, and media personality. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love what you're up to.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where you are from?
Where am I from? I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, McLean, Virginia. Practiced law in Florida for a really long time. I split my time now between Florida. I spend time in California. Travel, without COVID. I used to travel around a lot, but mostly Florida, California these days.
I love it. And what inspired you to become an attorney?
Really, I had gotten married at 19 the first time. I had 3 kids by the time I was 22. I finished college. I was teaching in inner city elementary school. I got divorced and I had 3 little kids, and I was still in my 20s, and I was making $26,000 a year teaching elementary school and public school. And I was like, I got to figure out how to put food on my kids' table and a roof over their heads. And I'm not doing it on $26,000 a year as a single mom. And I was living in South Florida at the time, and University of Miami had a night program, which they don't even have anymore. But I was fortunate enough to get into their night program, and somehow I bootstrapped my way through that thing, and fully on student loans. And that's how I did it. Totally as a single mom, I was able to put myself through law school, and that's what I ended up doing. I did it really because I saw it as a way out to be able to provide a life for my kids.
I love it. And at what moment did you transition to also being a narcissist negotiation expert?
That's actually a very recent transition. While I was still in law school, I got a job as a family law attorney. I mean, I was happened to get a job with 2 family law attorneys who were very, very good. I was very lucky to intern under top family law attorneys who really, really knew their craft. Family law, there's like a low end type of family law, and then high end family law is a very, very specialized type of family law. So, there's trust issues, tax issues, business valuation issues. And I was very fortunate to be able to intern under very high end type of family law attorneys who were, billionaires, celebrities. And I came up through the ranks that way. Eventually went out on my own, started my own firm, and wrote my first book, which was Breaking Free. Then I started doing some media appearances that way. And a couple of years ago, decided I wanted to do more creative types of things. I really kind of figured out that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I loved building my practice. I didn't love so much the day-to-day running cases, running the firm, all that sort of thing. So I wanted to do more creative kinds of things. So I merged my practice with 2 other guys, and wrote my second book, Negotiate Like You Matter. Just last year, started doing some YouTube videos. I realized about maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago, that I was dealing with 2 narcissists in my own life. I had been speaking on negotiation for many, many years. I had written a book on negotiation. I had been the keynote speaker for negotiation at the American Bar Association. This is something that I had really, really honed my skills on for a very long time. But it wasn't until somebody had pointed out to me that I was dealing with a narcissist in my business life, not in my law practice, but in a small side business that I had, kind of very small business that I'd sort of done for a little bit. And also in our extended family, that I realized that what a narcissist really was. And I started voraciously reading everything I could on narcissism. And that was when I started realizing I could apply what I was learning about narcissism to what I had already learned about negotiating. And so at the time, I was really still practicing law on a regular basis, and I started applying it to my cases, and I actually started to see movement in my cases. And I thought, oh my God, this stuff really works. This is working. And so I just started doing some YouTube videos on it. I started to develop a course on it. And that was just actually pretty recently, about 1.5 years ago. And my life has exploded since then. I found the secret sauce.
I love it. Now, tell us more about some of the patterns that you're seeing in regards to narcissistic character traits.
Well, I mean, narcissists are actually, even though they're heinous to deal with, they're actually not that difficult to understand. They're really pretty much like rats in a maze. They only are after one thing at all times, and that is narcissistic supply, which is anything that feeds their ego. They just need that constant external validation, because they don't have any internal sense of self. So they're very fragile inside. They're really the most insecure people that you can possibly imagine. And so they're very fragile. They have like narcissistic injury that can very easily be triggered. So you kind of have to tiptoe around them a lot of times. And so you have to come up with strategy and leverage that really pretty much takes all of that into account. So it's normal people, regular people are driven and motivated by many different things. Some people it's children, some people it's money, some people it's their home, some people it's their career. Most people are driven and motivated by a lot of different things. With narcissists, it's really only just the one thing. It's anything that feeds their ego. But within that, there's definitely a hierarchy.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, can you tell us more about your books?
So I have 2 books. One came out in 2013 and one came out in 2019. In 2013, my first book was Breaking Free, a Step-by-Step Divorce Guide. And that is broken up into 3 different sections. So it's emotional freedom, physical freedom, and then spiritual freedom. And it's broken up into 45 days, 45 different chapters, like small chapters. I kind of figured out, people aren't trying to get emotional freedom or physical freedom, the actual divorce part, or the spiritual freedom at different times. It's kind of all happening at the same time. I always say that the divorce paradox is that at the worst, most horrible time of your life, you're trying to make the most critical decisions of your life about all the things that mean the most to you, about your money, your home, your children, it's like all the lists that, name the most stressful things that could possibly ever happen to you. Divorce is like right up at the top, and yet you have to make these critical decisions. And so, I address in there all the most important emotions, fear and anger and resentment and all of that, and how to deal with that. And then the middle section, which is the physical part of divorce, I actually address kind of the legal stuff without giving actual legal advice, because obviously it's, it's kind of different for every state or even different countries, but every single divorce has the same elements to it, whether it's it doesn't matter if you're in Timbuktu or if you're in Iowa, you're dealing with property, you're dealing with children, so there are definitely universal aspects to every single divorce that you can address. And then the spiritual aspect of divorce. And I don't go into religion per se, but I go into, making sure you find time for finding your passion and laughter and eating healthily and getting enough sleep and, just feeding your spirit, because that's really, really important too. So that's the first book. And then the negotiation book is, really specifically on negotiation.
Tell us a little bit more about that book, Negotiate Like.
Yeah, so I negotiate like you matter, and matter is the acronym for how to negotiate. And I've kind of, sort of shifted more into slay. It's kind of the same methodology, but the reason I called it Negotiate Like You Matter is because at our core, as human beings, all people want to feel seen, heard, and know that they matter. I don't really go into narcissism per se. I do kind of mention narcissism a little bit. I'm actually in the process of writing a book now specifically on narcissists, but at the time that I wrote this book, I wasn't really focusing on narcissists. It was more on negotiating in general. But it's, I take you through the methodology, kind of the inside out that, my value, M stands for my value is defined by me, and meaning that you and you alone define your value. And I kind of take it from there. You go through all the different aspects of negotiating where you have to, analyze your research and go through, doing your research, do the research for the other side, tackling the hard issue second, try to do some whatever the simplest issues are first, have some momentum, looking at your emotions and keeping your emotions in check, and recording any agreements in writing, so I take you through, I have matter as the acronym for how to do it. And I throw in some fun stuff in there too. I have some body language stuff in there, and where to actually do the negotiation. Should it be your place? Should it be their place? Should there be a neutral location? I tackle some colors. I kind of go through some analysis of colors. I go through embedded commands. It's pretty detailed, actually. It's a great book for those of you who want to check it out.
I love it. Now, tell us more about the major challenge that you had to overcome in your life.
Oh gosh, I've had to overcome a lot of different challenges in my life. First of all, I was definitely bullied as a kid for being Chinese. And, I talk about that a lot on my channel as, my YouTube channel. I'm pretty open about that. It's something I had a lot of shame about as a kid, as an adult. It's only recently that I was like, you know what, I'm not going to give those people any power anymore. I'm just going to come right out and talk about it, because it's what is the shame about that? It wasn't me, it's them, because I'm half Chinese. And so I was bullied for being half Asian. And, my middle name is a Chinese middle name, and, it's Yukong. And so the other kids would be like, oh, what's your middle name? Is it King Kong? Is it kids can be super mean. And so at the time that I was a kid, I just wanted to be I wanted to have blonde hair, and I wanted my middle name to be Marie, and I just wanted to be other kids. And, I didn't want to be mixed, I just wanted to be every other kid. And then as I grew up and I started to realize what is wrong with being, different, and everybody can, has their own unique special qualities about them, and we're all meant to be here. And and if you think about how many sperm and how many eggs, and the likelihood that one finds the other one, and that there's never been another you in the history of yous, ever in history, and there's not another you now, and there never will be. We're meant to be here, and stop beating yourself up, over it, right? We're all meant to be here, and embrace that. It's a beautiful thing. And don't let kids on the playground dictate your value in this world.
Very inspiring. Now, what would you tell someone that is going through being bullied right now?
Yeah, I would tell them all of those things, you know? I mean, don't let those people define you, because you know, bullies on the playground grow up to be narcissists in grown-up life. I mean, it's narcissists are really just big bullies, and the reason why they treat people like that is because they have no sense of self for themselves, and they go around and treating people like that because that's what they feel like they have to do in order to feel good about themselves, right?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Now, what is your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
Gosh, you know, I mean, the more you can do for others, you know, I mean, you were talking to me earlier before we got on here about, you know, your story, and like, look at all that you're doing to, you know, use your story to help others, right? And like, I've had to deal with narcissists in my own life, and even though it was horrible, you know, and absolutely one of the worst hells I've ever had to deal with. And, you know, like, one of the ones I had to deal with was in a business situation, and it was absolutely awful. I mean, I can't even describe how awful. And yet I wasn't even married to this person, and it was awful. I can't imagine being married to one. And yet, had I not gone through that experience, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And so, and I know that I've helped so many people. And so, you know, you can take your story and you can turn your pain into purpose and use it to help others. And, you know, whoever you are, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, I remember when I first started doing YouTube videos, like, I would get like, you know, 20 views or something. And I know it was definitely only my mom and her like friends in her church group, like, for sure. I had like one video that was how to negotiate with a narcissist, right? All the other videos had like 20 views, but how to negotiate with a narcissist got like 600. And I was like, maybe I should make more of that one, you know, like, because I just figured, okay, you know, and I remember like thinking, nobody's going to watch these videos. What am I doing? This is so stupid. And yet here I am now, and I get like almost 2 million views a month on my channel. So it's, you know, you never think that what you're doing isn't going to matter, because it will.
I love it. Such an inspiration. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, where can the audience find you?
Well, definitely my YouTube channel, and grab my free Crush My Negotiation. Oh, did I write that wrong? Oh, no, I didn't. Yes, there should be a Q on the end of that right there. So yeah, youtube.com. Yeah, there it is. youtube.com, Rebecca Zung, ESQ. And then the winmynegotiation.com is a free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet if anybody wants it. It's a free ebook. Basically, it's a 15-page worksheet for anybody who wants to learn how to negotiate. So
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to subscribe to Rebecca's YouTube channel. That's Rebecca Zung ESQ. And then also check her out on her website. That's winmynegotiation.com. And Rebecca, thank you again for being a guest on Walk With Me podcast. You have a great day.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.